who's this black man that's joining the show? Like, what happened what's going on here? Like, we're talking video game music. Oh, I'm
We're
sorry. Go ahead.
talking about some video game music. Yeah. Like, CRT sound system back at you. Episode 24 we have here at Reese as always. Reese, how are you?
Oh, excellent. I'm excellent. I'm glad that we've reached the
Yeah.
Jack Bauer episode. This is important for me psychically. As the only good Republican creation, I will defend it. Anyways, neither here nor there. We also have a very special guest that I'm quite excited to introduce. Larry, hello.
That's me. It's me. It's Larry OG. Welcome. Yes, welcome to Lion Tamer. Hi. Yes, I'm Larry OG, community manager of Overclock Remix, the video game music fan arrangement community. It's been around since 1999. I've been a part of it since 2002 as a fan, and then on the staff since 2004 as one of the submissions judges. And all of the arrangements on Overclock Remix are peer reviewed by musicians and fans like myself. I am not a musician. I have no talent. I just love video game music a lot, and I'm a legit super fan of game music. And so, yeah, I've been a part of OC
Just
Remix
like me, for real?
long time. Yes, for real.
For real, me too.
No, I don't have any.
mean,
No, I was talking with an OC remixer. I think either yesterday or the day before. Very talented fellow by the name of Zach Parrish. He did a lot of stuff on our very recent that just dropped this month, our Final Fantasy VIII album, Seeds of Pandora. And we were chatting a little bit, and he was like, "Oh wait, and I said to him, "Oh, I've got so many ideas recorded as voice memos on my phone, and I wish I could, do them because you guys make music. You guys are, music making wizards. I don't have any talent. If you sang me a note." And put a gun to my head and said, "Identify this note, or you're done." They're going back to 24, right? The bomb's going to go off if you identify this note. And I'd go like, "Ooh, I'm sorry, guys. Like, that's it. I don't know. I don't know. Nope, I don't know." I don't even know. You could sing it. You could sing a C. I don't know. Even though most songs are in the key of C. I don't know, dude. Don't know it. But I'm a very legitimate super fan. And yeah, just to say exactly why I would be here, to chat about things, right? So as I mentioned, Overclock Remix fan arrangement community, and we had the privilege back in 2008 of doing this a soundtrack for the revival of Street Fighter II as a franchise when Capcom came out with it back in 2008 for Xbox 360 and PS3. We did the soundtrack. The fans of Overclock Remix, the musicians there, were able to do the soundtrack. More than 20 musicians came together and remade the score. And it was amazing because, back in the day, I mean, let's have some perspective, right? Nothing had come out since Street Fighter 3, Third Strike, back in 99. And so the series, the franchise had been dormant for about almost a decade. And we helped bring it back.
Was 4 not out by the time Turbo HD came out?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, and the fun thing, right, was I wasn't privy to the discussions, obviously internally at Capcom, but essentially what happened was they had some consultant or whatever analyze what was going on with their portfolio, and they just said, "Well, what's going on with Street Fighter? Y'all sold a whole bunch of stuff. What's going on?" And they weren't doing anything with it, so they said, "Why don't you revive it?" And so Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix, right? They had the plans to develop 4, and HD Remix was sort of that lead-off piece to say, okay, let's make sure that we're going to test the waters, make sure that the nostalgia is in full effect and everything like that. And it was almost like a primer piece to lead up to Street Fighter 4 coming out. So I mean, it sold, I guess, 250,000 units. I don't know what the final tally is. It might have been way more. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember it coming out at the time, and I played it just a little bit, and don't really have a strong memory except that it was part of my love of Street Fighter 2 continued, and the and the remixes fit right in, and so this is really an exciting sort of topic for me to go through personally, because we've talked previously about OC Remix as sort of like a vital just like archive of video game music. Like, back in 1999, it was real tough to get correct information about the songs, or just, get access to the files themselves. And so
Mhm.
it was a real, beacon in the fog of the internet. And so there's a lot, there was always a lot of respect for that, as always, like a jumping off point. Like, I never really checked out the website new stuff to my detriment until later, but I always would like check back as like a place I always knew they were going to get it right. And so this is an interesting kind of development, and I'm really excited to kind of think more about OC Remix as just like this very interesting, positive community force in game music. That is something, it warms the heart to experience.
Thank you. Yeah, no, everybody, as I said, everybody there are music making wizards. I'm continuously impressed by what folks are coming up with. I think when I was invited to join their judges panel back in 2004, I remember saying to myself, like, oh yeah, this is gonna be fun. I could do this for maybe like 5 years, and here I'm coming up in 2 months it'll be 19. So it's like but the community, they always come up with amazing concepts no matter what. Like, I've been asked before, hey, are there any particular themes where you get tired of hearing them because they're so popular, or just, they get kind of worn out? And my earnest answer, not just to be a cheerleader for OC Remix, but or even the video game music arrangement community, like, as a whole, right?
Yeah.
It's just, no, I am not tired of anything, because the moment I might be like, well, I mean, come on, how many, Donkey Kong Country aquatic ambience, takes can you hear?
Mm-hmm.
You'll hear something unexpected and fresh where you're like, holy shit, I did not know you could do that. And so I always hear fresh takes. And even, after we did Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix, there've been so many great takes that have come on after. So no, there's always fresh ideas. I love it. I'm still intrigued legitimately by what the community puts out to this day. So yeah, there's a reason I'm still the community manager. And then the last thing I'll say is that as far as people kind of not necessarily staying current with it, that's actually one, I don't know, you could say, like, it's not a bug, it's a feature in a way, because one thing I like to say whenever I'm tweeting at people is there is never a bad time to catch up. Because look, who knows, right? I mean, DJ Pretzel, David Lloyd, who created the website, he's the webmaster, the founder, the CEO, the Grand Poobah, and all that. Maybe one day he'll go, you know what? I put in my 22 years. I'm tired. Like, we're done.
Yeah.
And that's it. And even if he stopped right now, we've got over 4,000 tracks, and we just dropped our 100th album, right? So in our catalog system, it's number 78 in terms of our community albums, but we've published some independently developed albums and some indie game soundtracks and stuff like that, and we've done a couple of pro soundtracks. And so this one is actually our 100th album release, just as an entity overall. And so even if we stop tomorrow, you could spend a lifetime going through what's there. So I never feel bad when somebody's like, oh, I kind of fell off and I don't know what's going on. Dive back in. Like, it's all torrented, freely available for you to get. It's all there. So yeah. I mean, you'll always catch up on and hear new stuff that you're just impressed by.
I got to be honest, I want to dive into some Street Fighter music.
Let's go.
Yeah, I suppose we'll probably just jump in. We've talked a lot about the OC remix, but we are going to do both the original soundtrack for the CPS1 and CPS2 versions.
Of course, yeah. Let's go
before we talk about that. So we'll jump in with a couple of tracks here. We've got Ryu's theme, Blanka's theme, Balrog's theme, and M. Bison's theme. So I suppose with regards to Balrog and M. Bison, I'm using the American versions. So we've got, I suppose, Boxer's theme and Dictator's theme, just to avoid any confusion.
I strongly believe that Raul Julia cemented the naming convention through the power of
Bison dollars, the power of the Bison dollars.
Bison 100%. Dollars, yeah. All right, so let's jump into those, and we'll come back and chat again in a bit. those are some great tracks there. Like this soundtrack is just really just so iconic. Like it's
absolutely.
yeah.
Dating myself for sure, but something that I was thinking about listening to these is, the social aspect of being in the arcade and waiting for your turn.
Yep, put that quarter on. Yep,
and you're just
the
the cycle of the songs and just sort of like getting in the flow in the Street Fighter zone.
Yeah.
Thinking how you're gonna stay on top as long as possible. And I remember too how excited everybody was when Super Street Fighter came out and just
my god, yes,
and
it was crazy.
But I love those kind of like, I don't know, the social aspect of that for me, remembering like the music we were all listening to together while zoning out in the game, I think is such a fun aspect.
Yeah, and let me just throw real quick. One of the things though that you have to give Shimomura a lot of credit too, because I mean, no offense, right? And there are a lot of other great fighting game franchises out there. I would think, for example, Killer Instinct is probably underrated for how good, that soundtrack is. But honestly, when you think of all these other games out there, right, they may have some good songs, but man, they're just not as iconic as Street Fighter. Like you go through like Mortal Kombat and Tekken and Virtual Fighter and, like I said, Killer Instinct and go through all of them. And I can't think of another one that hits this consistently as Street Fighter 2.
Yeah, I think you might be right. But yeah, I suppose just to talk a bit about the sound differences as well, because Reese, you did mention that sort of upgrade to Super. And like Super is where it switched over to the CPS2 sound or CPS2 hardware, and thus the CPS2 sound hardware. So like, yeah, I really like, again, you can't fault the compositions. They're so good. Like Yoko Shimomura is sort of really at the top of her game with this. But then when it goes into the CPS2 stuff, like it gets so much more richer. And that, it's such a good sound. Like I just love that tick sound that the CPS2 has. It's really sort of its own sound as well.
Absolutely. During the pre-show, we were talking about the SNES versus kind of like the arcade sound chip, and I'm a huge fan of the SNES sound chip, but this is the one time I will admit that you compare the Street Fighter soundtrack from like the CPS2 version to the Super Famicom version, it sounds the tinniness, it's just not it's not what you want. It's not what I love, even though I spent,
countless hours on it.
Forever with that. I love that version, of course. No insults, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the time it was amazing. Just to, like, I had a couple of friends who got it when it came out, and like, it's such a weird thing. Like, Street Fighter 2 is such an international thing, and I think it's even at the time, I've often talked on the episodes about how like a bunch of games that I love I never played until I was an adult because I just couldn't get them. Like even in my rural village in Ireland, we had two different places that had copies of Street Fighter 2. Like within the first year of that coming out, like it was such a phenomenon that like even literally the most rural place you can imagine in Ireland had at least one copy of it in a, if it wasn't in an arcade, it was in like a hotel or something like that where people could just play it because it was such a big deal at the time.
And it was so fucking expensive too. Like it was in that era of console prices where everybody was just like, please just punch to drop down $80, $90 on Street Fighter 2, just because you know what, it ripped that hard. And I think that is worth remembering as well.
But yeah, it got a lot of mileage out of it though. You certainly, I mean, there are a lot of games out there where you could be paying those kind of prices and you wouldn't necessarily, maybe the gameplay wouldn't be that hot, but you can't forget, just like you guys were alluding to, the social aspect of it, right? Even when you had the home versions, right? Just being able to play with your siblings or being able to have friends over and stuff like that. Boy, it's just like when Smash Brothers came out, right? It's like, man, you get all, or GoldenEye, right? Like you get all the social juice out of it. So you got all the value out of it.
And there was it had a real broad appeal, I felt, to everybody who was somewhat of a gamer. It was just appealing to pick your fave, your crush, your hero, whatever, and just continue to tap the button so Chun-Li kicks. It's great.
Hey, she was my twin brother's favorite. You know what I mean? So yeah, when you say crush, I'm like, oh, absolutely, he totally loved Chun-Li the best.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. Yeah, I suppose we'll jump into the next set of tracks anyway, without much further ado. So from now on we're starting with the CPS2 tracks. So these are all from Super Street Fighter 2. So we've got Ken's theme. No, not again. Yeah. Oh no, again. That was the first track.
Ken and Ryu.
Yeah, we've got Ken's theme and Ryu's theme again. Again, just more for comparison's sake. Then we have Chun-Li's theme and one of my favorite very short tracks, which is the bonus stage.
Yay! Smash that car.
Let's jump into those.
Well, what was y'all's favorite in Street Fighter 2? Was it the car? Was it the barrels or
Oh,
the
the
wall?
car definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
it
had to
was
be
the
the
car.
car. Yeah, it had to be
There's
the
something
car.
funny that you're just like, well, let's go fucking ape shit on
Fucking
this Buick.
Yeah.
It's like a bonus level of, I don't know, Samus Aran
Yeah.
destroying someone's living room.
I kind
It's
of
really
like that
fun.
you didn't need someone to show up and go, oh my God, my car. Because it was just more like, dude, these guys will fuck up a
Yeah.
car.
Just fuck up a car for no reason. Yeah.
For no reason. Come
Um,
on, it was a junkyard car. Well, actually, no, it was a fresh looking car, man. That was a
It
fresh
looked pretty
looking car.
nice,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, it looked pretty new. Poor car. R.I.P. car.
Yeah. But yeah, the teams there, like I think we were talking about it during the break, like how much more rich those are, and like all the little embellishments they're able to add because of the better sound hardware and things like that, that really sort of draw out the character in these teams. Like you were saying, the Ryu's team just has all those little percussion hits that just make it, just to give it so much more authenticity.
Mhm.
It's a really, really cool sort of, like, all those little additions really make such a difference.
I'm rocking a pair of decent headphones that Conky recommended to me, so you know they're good. And though the richness in sort of the way that they're playing with that is it's just you don't see that from this era of games that often, and it's really engaging and compelling.
Yeah. No, it's such a cool soundtrack that there's no other way to describe it. I really, really love it. You were like, actually, just to go back a bit, Larry, you mentioned that this is your favorite soundtrack.
Bar none.
Yeah. So what about it makes it your favorite?
Goodness. So
Just the quality, like there's no.
Well, a couple of things, right? So as I mentioned earlier, and it's my personal opinion, but across the franchise, so when you finally get into Super Turbo, there were 17 character themes. The 12 World Warriors, the 4 new challengers, and then you had the hidden character of Akuma. And to me, all 17 themes are melodious, catchy, memorable. They all hit. I don't have a single one of those themes that I would say is a dud or is a lesser than theme compared to the others. I earnestly and sincerely enjoy all 17 of them and think they're absolutely fantastic. And so there's a combination of the nostalgia for me because it is my favorite game. And then there's just the fact that every theme hits. And even, before I was a kid, I wasn't necessarily thinking about like, well, one day I'm going to be part of a video game music community where we evangelize that video game music is an art form and all that kind of stuff. I just knew that I could hum these themes and they were super memorable and catchy, and I dug them, and that they always enhanced the fighting.
Yeah.
And one thing maybe that I subconsciously understood, again, kind of compared to other games that were out there, is just I wasn't really remembering the music from other games. And from other fighting games, as it were. And sometimes you would, right? But just again, I'm hard pressed to find any other example of a fighting game. And and maybe I focus in on that because fighting games are my personal favorite genre of games. But I can't find another fighting game where everything hits so much and where the music really augments the experience quite as well as Street Fighter 2. So it's just it will never be less than my number one favorite soundtrack. I just never.
Absolutely. Even as a non-fighting game person, there's a singular singular powerful quality to it that I think it's impossible to argue against. And I really love how the richness and sound kind of from the CPS1 and the CPS2 kind of mirrors the kind of like the way the game would develop as well, where it's just sort of like this thing that people would really love and fall into, and more characters and more Street Fighter go on to be the juggernaut that it is. And I like being able to see that mirrored in the music as well. There's a lot of I think, extraordinarily thoughtful work and design in Street Fighter, just like the broad strokes of each character of
Yeah.
what they're trying to get across with, Ken and Ryu, and just Chun-Li. It immediately makes sense, and there's this powerful aura to it, stuff like that. And I think that is consistently excellent across the board with the music and just the game in general.
Yeah, I think it like it's something we talk about a lot on the podcast is just like how video game music can be so good at like creating a sort of a sense of place, and like I think this is a really good example of it because and not just because of the way that she pulls in sort of regional music to make each place sound like it is, but like just in the way that like as soon as you hear these themes you can picture the stage in your mind.
Yeah.
Like the second it starts, you're like, "Oh yeah, that's that stage."
Yep.
And like, I don't think there's many fighting games that can sort of do that for every single track. And I think that's really such a testament to it.
And I want to give credit to Capcom across the board because, there are many other games within the Street Fighter franchise that are near and dear to me because. Again, it's just look. I don't know if it's sort of like a what am I thinking? Almost like a North Star as a company to just deliver an amazing music experience. Because Capcom as a whole, right? When you think of they did the Disney games on the NES, like DuckTales and Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers and stuff like that. Had many other hit games outside of Street Fighter where the music is very, very important and is memorable. And even for me, I'm a big fan of Street Fighter Alpha, 1, 2, and 3 soundtracks. I love the Street Fighter 3 Third Strike soundtrack as well. And so, even just across the franchise, they really did a good job of just making sure that stuff had a meaningful place within the context of the game. And just, I just really, I mean it where I say, I just haven't heard that as effective in other places.
Yeah.
So they just something about the sauce within Capcom has been different.
I am naturally hostile to all video game companies, but I have to admit that Capcom has always and continues to put up the W's, and musically, absolutely, we the Mega Man. Music could not be more seminal to the VGM experience.
Yep,
that sort of thing. And so there is certainly and it feels like Street Fighter's kind of the crown jewel of that, right? I mean,
sure.
Honestly, and Street Fighter 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And when you mention Mega Man, though, it's tough not to say that that's super, high up there as well. So. Yep. But we'll talk more about that because I've been executive producer on a Mega Man album for Capcom as well. So it's nice. Like, yes, absolutely. Sweet. I couldn't agree with you more.
All right, I suppose we will jump into the next block of tracks anyway. So the first one we've got is Guile's theme. I think probably one of the most iconic themes and most well remembered. I'd say out of anything else, just due to that Guile's theme works with everything meme. That sort of that really solidified it in a lot of people's brains. They've got Zangief's theme and we've got Fei Long and T-Hawk's theme, which are actually both composed with Shun Nishigaki, I believe. I suppose the first thing I do feel like I have to mention is just that Guile's theme, just the crib from that T Square song,
Mhm.
and it's one of those things you hear and you're like, oh my god, this is completely stolen, but it's still even with the completely stolen riff, like it's such a good song, it's so iconic, and
Yeah.
like she
Absolutely.
makes it feel part of this game in a way,
Mhm.
like. I think it'd be difficult sometimes to just like outright rip off something and just have it fit. But she manages to make it work. um,
Absolutely.
yeah. I really, really love Zangief's theme as well. Like you mentioned that, Reese, as well. Just the that sort of that industrial beat at the background. It doesn't sound very Russian, but it just gives it such a cool vibe and really fits with the stage and the character.
Absolutely. I'm compelled to tell the story real quick of
Please.
of Patrick, who in the social group was only played Zangief, called him
Ooh.
Zangief, and was just like as nice as anybody else, like most of the time. But just like all evil was channeled through him during that, and it was this kind of thing where it's just like he figured out how to play Zangief on a level none of us would ever
Yeah.
touch him, and he was just like always like wheedling us into play and being a dick about it, and it was extremely funny, and that is
That's
Zangief to me
grapplers for
now.
you, though. Like every person I know who plays grapplers is exactly like that.
I wasn't aware that was the grappler
No, that's the
archetype. That's
grappler
important.
archetype.
That's important
Yeah.
to know.
It was I have such childhood memories of, so when you're playing Street Fighter, um having the home versions. I remember playing World Warrior on Super Nintendo, and it was so key, like trying to um, learn how to properly throw a dragon punch and stuff like that. Because it's got the different kind of motion. But then the other main key is trying to make sure you time everything right to get that spinning pile driver off. That was
Yeah.
so mission critical. If you could get that going, like yeah, you'd be an absolutely devastating challenger. So that was huge.
Yeah, the execution requirements, especially before the days of like shortcuts and stuff with the newer games, like it's so hard to do consistently pull off like pile drivers and super pile drivers in two in particular.
Yeah, because you'd end up jumping by accident and stuff like that. Like you
Yeah,
really had to learn it right, and kind of get the feel. Especially again, thinking of the Super Nintendo days, right? Like it's not an arcade stick, so it's like you got to really kind of adjust what you were doing in the arcade and kind of relearn it. And
yeah.
but it was fun. It was fun. And if you're a little kid, I don't know. Do you guys have any memories of kind of like burning your thumb, kind of? You know what I mean? Like kind of making it sore from like not kind of
Not
like
in
when you're a
Street
beginner.
Fighter.
Yeah, when you're a beginner, you don't kind of, you don't quite know how to move your
Yeah,
hand without kind of like overdoing it and stuff. So it's like, yeah, you can get like
yeah.
the burn on your thumb and stuff. So
No, I
Hey,
not in Street Fighter, but I did give myself a blister playing Turtles in Time.
that was my first Super Nintendo game. Yes.
for me, the great psychic distress of Street Fighter was being unable to do the uppercut motion,
Right.
the forward,
Yep.
the
The
Z or whatever.
forward, down,
To
down,
this day,
forward.
it is something I will never be able to do, and it drives me
No.
insane. It just like I stare at.
You never wait a minute. You never did it the cheat. You never did it the cheat way though. You just did a double. I would just do a double fireball. That was how I kind of learned how to cheat it and do it like that. Just do a double fireball motion. But before they had supers, right? So you could do it in like World Warrior and
Yeah,
Turbo and stuff like that.
Maybe I had
Yeah.
not heard of it. Maybe over
Yeah.
time with these new techniques I've learned in
Oh yeah.
the podcast wastes.
yeah.
We'll get you one day on it. Yeah, just do a double fireball for anybody that's got the old stuff. If you can't really get the dragon punch motion or the diagonal, punch motion going off, just hit the double
Yeah.
fireball and boom,
Just
you got it.
mash out some fireball inputs and
Yep.
you'll be grand.
Unfortunately, I'm very irresponsible, so I'm probably going to have to peace out. But on
Yeah.
the session, I wanted to say thank you so much, Larry. I
Of
am
course.
really, really excited to listen to more OC remix stuff. I posted one earlier because I misunderstood and thought we were doing all the OC remix stuff, but the live all brass like interpretation of
double
a couple of the themes, you're just like, this is incredibly funny. And then of course it was your your post.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, double KO by Abreu Project. Yeah, that's a great track. So, I mean, again, there's so many good interpretations. I recommend to anybody, right? Hop on OC Remix and go through. You know, we've got all the Street Fighter 2 stuff represented pretty much. You know, there may be some guys, you know, we don't have all, say, like the ending themes for each character represented, but all those stage themes, we've got at least one of each. And there's loads of good interpretations too, including we have a couple. We have at least 2 of themes that were rejected for Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix. So we've got some kind of, you know, cutting room floor stuff that later got refashioned and put, you know, onto OC remixes, some standalone OC remixes. So we've got some good stuff from E Honda and Guile's themes. Or no, E Honda and Zangief's themes.
Oh,
so
sweet.
yeah. So I'll chat about that a little later for you, Reese, if you're leaving us, man.
Yeah, Reese, you're gonna have to listen back later. But yeah, don't let us keep you go and do
well,
your
no,
podcast.
I am about to head out. Please don't let Craig talk shit about me. Thanks again.
I hate you, Craig.
We're not fans of Craig. I suppose we'll jump into the next few tracks then, just the last bosses basically, before we do a couple of Turbo HD remix tracks. So we've got Vega's theme, Sagat's theme, M. Bison's theme or Dictator's theme, and then lastly we have Akuma's theme.
Oh boy,
love me some Akuma. I am outside of when playing 2, I am an Akuma main in all other games. I just can't handle him in Street Fighter 2. Obviously, he's a bit broken at that game.
Oh yeah. love Akuma's theme.
Yeah, it's so cool. I was talking to friend of the pod, Dave, who was on the Commodore 64 episode, and he was saying he loves the Akuma
Mm.
theme, but he only ever recognizes the low health version because of how quickly he kills you.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. The
Yeah.
yeah, and probably I guess Street Fighter was probably first doing that idea too, and I wonder where that idea came from. Even if it wasn't
Yeah.
first, I'm wondering, okay, was there a particular game or something like that where they grabbed that idea from? It might be in the liner notes too for the definitive version final release. So
Yeah.
you're making me want to rip the plastic off and like actually open the thing.
There's probably scans online somewhere.
Oh, okay, yeah, true. I don't want to disturb my baby here.
It could be apocryphal, but I think was Akuma not supposed to originally be like the Shenlong sort of rumor that kept going around?
I'm not sure if I mean,
like,
that would totally make sense though, right? That the whole Shenlong, EGM rumor kind of gained a life of itself and turned into doing Akuma. Yeah, that would totally make sense. Yeah, that would totally make sense.
I think in
cool.
4, like that's where they got Goken from. In 4 was like
yeah.
the idea of like just having in Ryu's master
right.
as a character. But yeah, I never came across Akuma naturally because I was never that good at beating the CPU.
Oh, me neither.
But in the HD remix version, I did actually work on getting that achievement, and it killed me. It took me so long.
That's the one, that's like the one downside. Like, I wish they had added a mode where you could just straight up challenge Akuma, right then and there, because A Rival, who did the theme for Akuma, his version of it called Mountain Breaker on the HD remix soundtrack is so good.
Great. Yeah,
it is
really
so intense. And so obviously you can get the music and you can hear it, but I wish for gamers that it would be easier to sort of unlock that Shin Akuma mode where you could fight them so that you could hear it more on the in-game setting, but it's definitely tough. Even on HD remix it's tough, but I mean, well, you can you can crank it on easy and get it. I certainly did that in order to I
must have done that too.
Did you also do it where you did one round to make it like way easier, way less?
I probably would have, yeah. And I just pick Bison and just do the Psycho Crusher across the stage over and over again, and like the computers can't deal with that if you just keep doing that. So yeah, I definitely cheesed it. But you can't really cheese Akuma because Akuma is just in that game is completely broken.
Oh my god, yeah, right. I mean, even when you can unlock Akuma, you do the code and you can unlock him. It's not Shin Akuma, so it's regular Akuma. And he can do one fireball, one air fireball, stuff like that. And so even final boss Akuma, Shin Akuma, he can do the double air fireball. I mean, just insane. Has more speed. It's just insane. So.
Yeah, I suppose this is probably a good time to jump into talking about the HD remix in a bit more detail. So I suppose you mentioned at the start you were a part of putting this together. So like at the time, did Capcom reach out to OC Remix, or was there like just a conversation that was happening, and then some how did this come about, or do you have any insight on that?
Well, so DJ Pretzel's the one who made the initial contact to get everything going. Well, actually, I tell lies. So let me kind of rewind it back. So from what I understand, Capcom, they'd have booths at trade shows and stuff like that. So and so for E3, we had at OC Remix, we had an album that came out in 2006 for a Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo tribute album called Blood on the Asphalt that was run by Shale Riley, one of the remixers, and then Malkos was the assistant director for that one. And so those two organized that project to come together. And all of the albums that come out on OC Remix, we put them out for free, for all the fans. It's by fans, for fans, and all of the content is 100% free. And so somebody on Capcom staff had been using it to pipe in music in the booths at E3. And so some folks internally at Capcom have been fans. And when it came around, they reached out in, the next year in 2007 for, letting us know quietly. And, we couldn't say a word, but they're like, yo, we're bringing Street Fighter back.
Yeah.
And so what happened was Ray Jimenez, who now he works at Bandai Namco. He's with Bandai Namco currently. At the time, he was a producer with Capcom. And he was the initial point of contact where he emailed Shale Riley, since Shale was the director for Blood on the Asphalt, and said, hey, just explaining who he is. Hey, I'm with Capcom. We are looking to revive Street Fighter 2 with a high definition version. And we would love to talk with you guys about using tracks from Blood on the Asphalt as the sound, as the music, as the background music within this remake. Would that be something you guys are interested in? And Shale thought it was a prank. Shale thought this was super fake, and keep in mind, right? This is, Twitter was in its super infancy, right? Like a lot of folks weren't necessarily there. YouTube had only started in 2005. There wasn't as much of a digital or, social media footprint for everybody to be on. There's no LinkedIn. You couldn't necessarily vet people and just Google them and find out what the deal is. And so when you get a rando email, you're kind of thinking like, somebody bullshitting us, like what's going on? But thankfully, Shale did pass it on to David Lloyd, aka DJ Pretzel, the founder of OC Remix. And so Dave was the one who reached out, back out to Ray and was kind of, getting the feeler out and seeing, is this legit? And, suffice to say, it was a legitimate offer and everything like that. And yeah, we were absolutely game. So aside from, so Shale was the first person to know that this was happening. And then Dave said, yeah, it's, we definitely want to do this. This would be phenomenal. And so I was the third person, within the OC community to know that we were doing this project. And, got to, sit down with Dave, and, we had dinner together, and he's like, listen, man, Capcom wants us to do. They're going to remake Street Fighter 2 with high definition graphics, and they want us to do the music, and they want to use stuff from Blood on the Asphalt. I'm like, yeah, dude, sign me up. This is great. And I mean, like I said, legit. And it's not because I worked on HD Remix as, assistant soundtrack director for that. But, whether or not Capcom would have ever revived the franchise, done anything with that, Street Fighter 2 is my absolute favorite soundtrack. And so I was just chomping at the bit like, yes, let's do this. And so Dave really wanted to make sure to streamline this process where effectively everybody would be kind of working and coordinating through DJ Pretzel, and he would be the single point of contact rather with Capcom, just to make it easier for Capcom as an entity to sort of deal with us and not feel like you're juggling, because we had over 20 contributors. But you want to make it so that this process is as clean as possible. So, pretty much just managing things with the spreadsheet and sort of just, keeping track of everything. But yeah, it was a tremendous opportunity for us as a community, but it's something that we're super, super proud of, because it was, the first AAA title ever to have a purely fan-made soundtrack.
Yeah.
And, even HD Remix just as a product, when you think of everybody else, Tom, that was involved, it wasn't just, they made a game, but they asked these fans to come and help on the music. You had David Serlin, who was in charge of the rebalancing process. That's right. And so you had Udon Studios do the artwork and kind of redraw the artwork to upscale it for, high definition play. And even for the win quotes, where they added additional win quotes, they used the Capcom Unity forums at the time to source new win quotes from the community, from the fans. So it's like, so it's like on 4 different levels. You have, you have like, with the music, the programming, the artwork, you have professional grade stuff, but you have people that are fans that come from that fan background of just loving the product and really growing up with it. And then you have the fans come in on the win quotes, side as well, to add in new stuff there. It's a fan service, like a fan project all around, that got that green light and that official support. So it was just such a unique opportunity. And I loved it. Just even, getting my name in a Street Fighter game is like a bucket list item I never knew I wanted, but it's just insane that I can, check that off. I would have never necessarily aspired to that, but it's cool. I'm in Moby games and all that good stuff. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
my first ever game credit. And and I've had more game credits since then, but it's just everybody's got a first, and to have something where literally my favorite game is my first official game credit in the industry. That's crazy. I can't describe how cool it is.
That's got to be wild, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, I suppose we'll jump into some tracks from that remix album. So I've got 5 picked out here. So the first one is the Ken stage, made in the USA. That's by Sixto Sounds.
Yeah, Juan Madrano. He's strong.
We have DJ stage called Thank You DJ, and that's by José the Bronx Rican. Or Bronx Rican, I guess.
Yep.
I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right.
Oh yeah, no, you got it.
Yeah, and then we have the T-Hawk stage again. I felt I had to include that just because you did mention you loved T-Hawk stage mode, or T-Hawk more than anyone else. And that's by Vurez. We have the Balrog stage, which is one of my favorite tracks off this one. It's Sexy Trunks by Neostorm. And then last one then is the Vega stage again. It's called Spittin' Narcissism, and that's also by José the Bronx Rican. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us, Larry, today. And obviously Reese is gone off to record their other podcast, but it was really fun to have you on. I love talking about this soundtrack. I love talking about this game. It's like
my pleasure, man.
Yeah, it's and thanks so much for reaching out initially about this, because it was really cool. So I suppose if you want to tell people where they can find you, and tell people a little bit more about like OC Remix and where they can find those for if they're looking.
Yeah, no, my pleasure, Tom. Thank you so much. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Again, Street Fighter is just so remarkable in terms of how memorable these themes are. So if it's something where folks that maybe are into the later editions of the franchise, now that a lot of people kind of grown up with Street Fighter 4 or 5, and now 6 is coming out. Make sure there's obviously they arrange those themes in all of those editions, but just hey, there's nothing like those originals though as well. So it's certainly nice to go down that road and know where everything came from. A lot of the mission, as it were, for Overclocked Remix is to showcase that we feel video game music is an art form equal to any other musical art form that's out there. So it's there to pay respect to the wonderful compositions that came out there. And the main thrust of what OC Remix is about, and it certainly probably took a couple of years to really hit upon that formulation, is that we want to be a music community where you can take video game music themes and really showcase the flexibility and quality of the compositions through interpretation. So the thing that sort of is distinct about OC Remix, and other communities have approached it in the same way as well, but not sort of with the same purpose that we have, which is like,
I don't think anybody has the scale of OC Remix.
Yeah, and so it's like anybody can take a theme and transcribe it for a different instrument, right? So so anybody can take these Street Fighter themes and keep the tempo, play it note for note, and same overall dynamics and energy, and just adapt it to piano, or adapt it to guitar, or adapt it to rock, or whatever. What we like to do, though, again, is demonstrate the flexibility through interpretation. So, you can add original counter melodies, you can add lyrics, you can add, you can weave in soloing, you can, have other elements come in, change the key, change the instrumentation, alter the rhythms, do whatever you want. And so we you can go from start to finish. Right now we've got over 4,000 free fan arrangements that are up there, submitted from over 1,000 musicians all around the world. We've been around since 1999 and post new music every couple of days. We just dropped our 78th community album called Final Fantasy VIII Seeds of Pandora. And so all of that action is happening at ocremix.org. We have our YouTube channel as well at youtube.com/OCRemix. So all of the content is there as well. And we have most of the albums up on our SoundCloud as well, soundcloud.com/OCRemix. Everything /OCRemix, you can find us. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all that. And it's just like I said kind of earlier on, in terms of being impressed by the community, there's new stuff that comes out every few days, and really there are so many great themes across so many lots of famous games, but of course lots of coverage from games that maybe don't get as much in terms of fan arrangements that are out there. So you will of course find the Street Fighters and the Final Fantasy 6 and 7, and we just had our album for 8, and Mario Brothers and Sonic and Mega Man and Castlevania and Chrono Trigger and all that. But the one thing I would say for anybody out there, and especially when you think for you guys doing a show like CRT Sound System and really getting a chance to not just hit the most famous of famous soundtracks, video game music is such an amazing subset of music. You could spend an entire lifetime, and you guys have started, but it's like you could spend an entire lifetime going down this rabbit hole and finding amazing stuff, and not just modern stuff, but classic chiptune stuff, and even early PC soundtracks, everything like that. So I I will kind of leave it with this, is that for OC Remix, just as a fan community, one thing I would recommend, and that I say all the time, because in my sort of origin of being just a fan first, was that when I was first told of OC Remix, I only downloaded, this is when it had about 500 tracks at the time, and I only downloaded about 30 tracks from games that I knew. So I stuck with, Street Fighter, Streets of Rage, Sonic, and, Mario and stuff. And they were all really cool, like what I heard. I really liked what I had heard, but I didn't branch out beyond that. The thing that, we literally, Tom, would not be talking right now if I hadn't told my best friend from high school that this website existed, and he went and downloaded everything because it was free, and he was just like, I want to grab it, like it's all free. And so when he did that, and then I got to listen to the whole collection, I took 3 days on like a summer vacation and just went from A to Z and listened through, and that was what clicked it for me, like, oh my God, this community, this is insane. Like, I got introduced to so many games and soundtracks that I had never heard before, or just I had never gotten to, like, I'd heard of those games, right? But I never played, like we talked about Mega Man and stuff. I never played it, but I got to experience those themes first through OC Remix. And then that really made me go back and be like, okay, I want to play Mega Man X. This music is awesome. And like, go through and find the games and stuff like that. And so if you really want to increase your appreciation of, video game music in general, you could definitely not go wrong by downloading the entire OC Remix collection and just go through from start to finish and hit them. Like, even if you ignore all the albums, right, you could take just the individual mix posts and go from one to, right now we just posted, number 4444. So like we've got over 4,000. It would last you more than 12 days straight with no breaks. So what I recommend is just, hit them all, keep what you like, throw away what you don't, but you will be absolutely blown away by what you do like, and you'll really discover a lot of great artists, a lot of great arrangers that are doing this stuff, but also a lot of great game soundtracks, and a lot of love for the original composers as well. We put all that metadata on the website and in the tags of the MP3s, so that if you want to know more about where everything comes from, you can go down that rabbit hole and enjoy.
Yeah,
so go to ocremix.org.
So comprehensive, and I think there's you can just download a torrent of everything from the site, can't you?
Absolutely, yes, you can. You can get all the.
You don't need to even go. Yeah, you don't even go individual pages. Just click download the whole torrent and then work away from there.
Absolutely. And in this day and age now where we thankfully have Google Drive and stuff like that, I even throw up one big RAR file with all of the tracks in them, so you don't even need to do the torrent if you don't want to. You can find, I tweet, every so often I'll see, because we've been around so long, somebody will be like, is OC Remix still around? Or like, oh, I'm back on OC Remix. Like, oh man, this is awesome. It's still going strong. And I'll be like, I always say to everybody, there's never a bad time to catch up, and boom, and hit them with the big mega link. And welcome back. It's the party's still going on. So we love it, man. So welcome anytime. Even if you hear this episode of CRT Sound System, 10 years from now, all that stuff is going to be around. So, welcome. You're not too late. The party's still continuing. So we welcome you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Thanks again so much. It was really fun to have you on. As for ourselves anyway, we're CRT Sound System. Either going to be CRT Sound System or CRT Pod System on all the various social media sites. You can follow Reese on Twitter at You're Very Good Bud, and also anywhere else. I suppose the last track we're going to play is just the staff roll from the original Street Fighter game. I suppose a fitting track to end with, I suppose.
Absolutely. You've made it through and you've survived M. Bison. So congratulations to you.
Congratulations. Yeah. Well, thanks again. It's been fantastic having you on, and have a great one. Take care.
Thank you.